The summer of 1963 hung heavy over Pittsburgh, thick with the humid promise of change and the unspoken tension of a nation grappling with its soul. For Marcus Bradley, 14 years old, and carrying the weight of a quiet revolution on his slender shoulders, that summer marked the end of one life and the terrifying, exhilarating beginning of another. He was about to enter Northwood High, a sprawling brick edifice perched on a hill, its manicured lawns and towering oak trees, whispering tales of generations of privilege. It was an all-white school, a bastion of tradition and exclusivity, and Marcus was about to become its first black student. His childhood in the Hill District had been a tapestry woven with vibrant threads of community, resilience, and the ever-present hum of struggle. Their small, neat row house, though modest, was always filled with the aroma of his mother, Eleanor's cooking, collard greens simmering low, cornbread baking, the comforting scent of fried chicken on Sundays. Eleanor, a woman whose strength was woven into the very fabric of her being, worked tirelessly as a seamstress, her nimble fingers transforming bolts of fabric into beautiful garments. His father, James, was a quiet man of immense dignity, a proud Union man who worked long, grueling shifts at the steel mill, his hands perpetually stained with grease and the grime of honest labor. Their home was a sanctuary, but it was also a classroom. Dinner-table conversations weren't just about the day's events. They were lessons in history, in justice, in the quiet power of perseverance. James would read from the newspaper, his voice steady, discussing the burgeoning civil rights movement, the marches in the South, the speeches of Dr. King. Eleanor would nod, her eyes thoughtful, reminding Marcus and his younger sister, Sarah, that change was coming, but it would demand courage. "Education, Marcus," James would often say, tapping a finger on a worn textbook. "That's your weapon. They can take everything else, but they can't take what's in your mind." Marcus, even as a young boy, understood the weight of those words. He was a bright child, quick to grasp concepts, with a mind that devoured books like hungry flames. He excelled in his segregated elementary and middle schools, often finishing his assignments early and then losing himself in the library, transported by stories of distant lands and heroic figures. He was aware of the unspoken limitations placed upon them, the invisible lines that divided their city, but he also saw the fierce determination in his parents' eyes, a quiet defiance that taught him to never settle, never accept less. The decision for Marcus to attend Northwood High wasn't made lightly. It was a strategic, courageous move, spearheaded by a small group of black families in the Hill District. Supported by the NAACP, Northwood was the best school in the city, academically superior, with resources their own schools could only dream of. It was a symbol of opportunity, but also of exclusion. Marcus, with a strong academic record and quiet maturity, was chosen as the pioneer, the one to break the barrier. He knew the burden he carried, the hopes pinned on his slender frame. He was not just Marcus Bradley. He was a representative, a symbol, a testament to the fight for equality. Stepping onto the polished linoleum floors of Northwood High felt like walking into a different country. The air, cool and unfamiliar, hummed with the chatter of hundreds of white voices, a sea of blonde, brown, and red hair, blue and green eyes. The building itself was grand, almost intimidating, soaring ceilings, wide hallways, classrooms filled with gleaming new equipment. Marcus, with his dark skin and neatly pressed shirt, felt like a single, stark brushstroke on a blank canvas. The murmurs died as he walked past, replaced by a chilling silence. Heads turned, eyes wide and curious, then narrowed and cold, followed his every move. He felt the weight of their collective gaze, 1,000 tiny needles pricking his skin. His first class, American history, was a blur of faces and hushed whispers. He chose a seat in the back, near the window, hoping to blend in, to become invisible. But invisibility was a luxury he couldn't afford. A crumpled piece of paper landed on his desk. He unfolded it, his hand trembling, his breath catching in his throat. A crudely drawn caricature of a black face, with exaggerated lips and wide, rolling eyes. Below it, scrawled in angry red crayon, "Go back where you came from," an asterisk, 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 R. The shame, hot and immediate, burned his cheeks. It wasn't just shame for himself, but for the indignity of it, for the casual cruelty. He crumpled the paper, his hand trembling, and shoved it into his pocket, trying to make his movements imperceptible. He kept his eyes fixed on the blackboard, pretending he hadn't seen it, pretending he hadn't felt the prickle of tears behind his eyes. He swallowed hard, forcing the lump down his throat. This was just the beginning. Lunchtime was a gauntlet. The cafeteria, a cavernous room filled with the clatter of trays and the roar of teenage voices, seemed to swallow him whole. The aroma of mystery meat and stale bread hung heavy in the air. He walked past table after table, each one full of laughing, chatting students, but none with an empty seat that felt welcoming. He saw groups of girls giggling, boys roughhousing, all of them oblivious to the silent struggle unfolding before them. He felt like an alien, an intruder, a specimen under glass. He found a small, empty table in the corner, near the overflowing trash cans, and ate his sandwich in silence, his gaze fixed on the wall, acutely aware of the whispers, the occasional snickers, the pointed avoidance that drifted his way. He learned to eat quickly, to keep his head down, to make himself small. The isolation was a physical ache, a constant dull throb behind his ribs. He tried to be friendly, to offer a polite smile, a quiet hello in the hallways. Most times he was met with blank stares, averted gazes, or outright sneers. Doors would close a little too quickly when he approached. Conversations would die the moment he walked by. He was a pariah, a living symbol of a change many of them resented. He heard the casual slurs whispered just loud enough for him to hear, the racist jokes shared in hushed tones, the subtle acts of exclusion that chipped away at his spirit. A textbook accidentally dropped in his path. A locker slammed shut as he tried to open his. A ball mistakenly thrown too hard in gym class. Each incident was a small, calculated reminder that he didn't belong. Don't let them see you break. Marcus, his father, James, had told him on one particularly difficult evening, his voice low and steady as he rubbed Marcus's weary shoulders. They want to see you fail. They want to see you react. Don't give them the satisfaction. Your strength is in your silence, in your focus. Marcus clung to those words like a lifeline. He buried himself in his studies. Academics had always been his refuge, a world where logic and knowledge offered a kind of solace, a space where his mind could soar, untainted by prejudice. He excelled in math, found unexpected joy in the complexities of chemistry, the precise formulas a welcome, escape from the imprecise cruelties of human interaction. But English, with its essays and interpretations, was where his mind truly soared. He devoured novels, poetry, plays, finding echoes of his own struggles in the universal human condition, in the narratives of characters who faced adversity and emerged stronger. He wrote essays that were insightful, nuanced, revealing a depth of thought far beyond his years. By sophomore year, the initial shock of his presence had worn off for some, replaced by a grudging acceptance, a silent acknowledgement that he wasn't going anywhere. The overt acts of hostility lessened, replaced by a pervasive, chilling indifference. But true integration remained elusive. He still ate lunch alone. He wasn't invited to parties. He was the exception, the other, tolerated, but not embraced. He was a constant reminder of a changing world that many at Northwood preferred to ignore. It was during this year that he found his true calling, a crucible where his quiet strength would be tested and forged, where his intellectual prowess could finally be unleashed. It was a debate team. He'd seen the flyer on the bulletin board. Northwood High Debate Team, tryouts, this week. The word seemed to jump out at him, a beacon in the sea of indifference. A spark ignited within him. He loved words, loved the power of argument, the precision of logic, the thrill of intellectual combat. This was a place where ideas mattered, where intellect could triumph, where the sharpness of one's mind could cut through prejudice. The tryouts were intimidating, a room full of confident, articulate students, many of whom had been debating since middle school, their voices ringing with practiced eloquence. Marcus, nervous but determined, waited his turn, his palms sweating, his heart thumping a frantic rhythm against his ribs. When it came, he spoke about the importance of civil rights, drawing on his own lived experience, with a quiet passion that surprised even himself. He didn't just recite facts. He spoke with conviction, with the weight of personal truth. Mr. Harrison, the debate coach, a stern but fair man with a shock of white hair and piercing blue eyes, listened intently. He was known for his rigorous standards, his unwavering commitment to intellectual honesty, his disdain for anything less than excellence. After everyone had spoken, he dismissed the others, but asked Marcus to stay. Marcus's heart pounded. Had he failed? Was this the polite way of telling him he wasn't good enough? "Bradley," Mr. Harrison said, his voice gruff but thoughtful, his eyes assessing. "You have fire and a good mind, but you're raw, unpolished. You need to learn structure, rhetoric, how to channel that passion into persuasive argument." He paused, his gaze assessing, piercing. "Are you willing to work harder than you've ever worked before? Are you willing to be pushed, to be challenged, to be broken down and built back up?" "Yes, sir," Marcus said, his voice firm, unwavering. "I am. I'm willing to do whatever it takes." "Good," Mr. Harrison nodded, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips. "Welcome to the team." The debate team was another world of challenges, a microcosm of Northwood High itself. His teammates, mostly white boys from affluent families, were initially wary. Some were openly hostile. "What's he doing here?" he heard whispered. Debate's not for his kind. He was often ignored in practice sessions, his ideas dismissed, his arguments met with a wall of silence. They saw his presence as an affront, a lowering of their standards. But Mr. Harrison was a relentless taskmaster, a man obsessed with excellence. He pushed Marcus, challenged him, saw his potential, and refused to let it wither. He spent hours with Marcus, patiently teaching him how to research, how to construct an argument, how to anticipate counter-arguments, how to dismantle an opponent's logic with surgical precision. He taught him the art of delivery, the power of pause, the impact of conviction, the subtle nuances of persuasion. He was tough, demanding, often critical, but always fair. He saw Marcus not as a black student, but as a debater, a mind to be honed, a talent to be cultivated. He became the closest thing to a mentor Marcus had ever known outside his family, a gruff, unlikely ally in a hostile environment. Marcus worked tirelessly. He spent hours in the library, long after school had emptied, poring over books, newspapers, and academic journals, his mind absorbing information like a sponge. He practiced his speeches in front of his bedroom mirror, his voice gaining strength and confidence, his gestures becoming more natural, more impactful. He stayed late after school, debating Mr. Harrison one-on-one, refining his arguments, sharpening his wit, learning to anticipate every angle, every trap. He was driven by a hunger to prove himself, not just to his teammates, but to every person who had ever doubted him, who had ever dismissed him because of the color of his skin. He wanted to win, not just for himself, but for every child who had ever been told they didn't belong. Junior year brought the regional debate competitions, a series of intense intellectual duels against other schools. Marcus, initially relegated to a supporting role, quickly proved his worth. His arguments were sharp, his delivery compelling, his composure under pressure remarkable. He started winning rounds, then entire debates. His teammates, grudgingly at first, then with dawning respect, began to rely on him. They saw his talent, his dedication, his ability to elevate their team. The wins started piling up, and suddenly Marcus was an asset, not a burden. But prejudice still reared its ugly head. At one competition, a judge, an older white man with a cold, unblinking stare, gave Marcus's team inexplicably low scores. Despite their clear victory in the round, his comments thinly veiled with racial undertones. Marcus heard the whispers, the thinly veiled slurs from opposing team supporters in the audience. He felt the cold stares, the subtle attempts to unnerve him, to throw him off his game. He saw the looks of surprise, then anger, on his teammates' faces when they realized the unfairness of it all. After one particularly brutal round, where an opponent had resorted to thinly veiled, racist remarks about certain types of people and their lack of intellectual rigor, Marcus felt the familiar surge of anger. the urge to lash out, to defend himself. He walked off the stage, his jaw clenched, his hands balled into fists, his body trembling with suppressed rage. Mr. Harrison met him backstage, his face grim, his eyes burning with a controlled fury. "They're trying to get under your skin." "Bradley," he said, his voice low, his hand resting briefly on Marcus's shoulder. "They want to see you lose your temper. They want to see you prove their ugly assumptions right. Don't let them. Your words are your weapon. Your dignity is your shield. Don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you lose either." Marcus took a deep breath, his mentor's words a calming balm, a reminder of the larger fight. He nodded. He wouldn't give them that satisfaction. He would win with his mind, with his truth, with his unwavering composure. He would let his intellect be his loudest retort. The state debate championship was held in a grand auditorium downtown, packed with students, teachers, and proud parents from schools across the state. The air crackled with anticipation, a palpable hum of nervous energy. Northwood High had made it to the finals, a testament to their collective talent, but largely to Marcus's brilliance. He was the anchor, the star debater, the one everyone watched, the one carrying the hopes of his team. The final round was against a rival school known for its aggressive, intimidating style, its debaters polished and ruthless. The topic was the role of government in social justice. It was a topic that resonated deeply with Marcus, a topic he had lived, breathed, and studied. His opponent, a confident, articulate white boy with a booming voice and a practiced swagger, delivered a powerful opening, full of statistics, legal precedents, and well-rehearsed rhetoric designed to overwhelm. Then it was Marcus's turn. He walked to the podium, his posture straight, his eyes calm, his heart beating a steady, powerful rhythm. He didn't start with statistics. He started with a story. His voice, clear and resonant, filled the auditorium, carrying to the furthest corners of the room. He spoke of the inherent dignity of every human being, of the systemic barriers that denied that dignity, of the quiet suffering of those overlooked by society. He spoke of the moral imperative to dismantle those barriers, to build a society where justice was not a privilege but a right. He wove in history, philosophy, and personal anecdotes, his arguments precise, logical, and infused with a quiet, undeniable passion that transcended mere facts. He didn't just present facts, he presented truth. He didn't just argue, he persuaded. He didn't just speak, he commanded, his words painting vivid pictures in the minds of his listeners. He saw the faces in the audience. Some were still skeptical, some still prejudiced, their expressions unyielding. But many, many more were listening, truly listening, their expressions shifting from curiosity to engagement, to a dawning understanding, even empathy. He saw Mr. Harrison in the front row, a rare, proud smile on his face, his eyes shining. He saw some of his teammates, their faces rapt, their earlier animosity replaced by genuine admiration, their hands clenching in silent support. He saw his parents, their faces etched with pride, their eyes glistening with unshed tears. When he finished, a profound silence hung in the air for a moment, then erupted into a thunderous applause that shook the rafters. It wasn't just polite applause. It was a roar of appreciation, a recognition of brilliance, a testament to the power of his words, a collective acknowledgment of a truth spoken with unwavering conviction. The judge's decision was unanimous. Northwood High had won the state debate title, and Marcus Bradley, the boy they said didn't belong, was the undisputed star, his name echoing through the auditorium, a symbol of triumph. He stood on the stage, holding the gleaming trophy, the spotlight illuminating his face, a face beaming with a mix of pride, humility, and profound gratitude. He had not just won a debate. He had won a battle, not just for his team, but for himself, for his community, for the idea that merit could, indeed, triumph over prejudice. Senior year was different. The air at Northwood High had subtly shifted. The whispers were gone, replaced by a quiet respect, an almost palpable sense of admiration. The stares were now admiring, curious, sometimes even friendly. Marcus was no longer just the black kid. He was Marcus Bradley, the debate champion, the brilliant student, the one who commanded respect, the one who had brought glory to Northwood. Students who had once ignored him now sought his advice on essays, asked him to join study groups, even invited him to lunch. Teachers praised his insights, his intellectual curiosity, his quiet leadership. The school, once a cold, unwelcoming place, began to feel like a community, slowly thawing under the warmth of his presence. He continued to excel academically, his mind sharper than ever, fueled by the victories he had earned, by the knowledge that he was making a difference. He poured himself into his studies, determined to leave an undeniable mark, to set a precedent for those who would follow. He wrote his senior thesis on the rhetoric of social change, a powerful piece that drew on his own experiences and his deep understanding of history, a work that garnered praise from professors at top universities. And then came the announcement. The school principal, a man who had initially been hesitant about Marcus's enrollment, but had since become a quiet admirer, stood before the graduating class, their parents, and the entire faculty at the annual award ceremony. He spoke of academic excellence, of leadership, of character, of the transformative power of a single individual. And then he announced the valedictorian. This year, he said, his voice ringing with pride, a hint of emotion in his tone, the highest academic honor bestowed upon the student who has demonstrated unparalleled academic success, exemplary leadership, and who has, through their quiet strength, their unwavering dignity, and their profound intellect, transformed the very fabric of our school, leaving an indelible mark on its history. Our valedictorian for the class of 1967 is Marcus Bradley. A collective gasp, then a roar of applause, thunderous and sustained, swept through the auditorium. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated triumph, a crescendo of years of struggle and quiet victory. Marcus walked to the stage, his heart swelling with emotion, his eyes finding his parents in the audience, their faces radiant with pride and tears, their hands clasped tightly. He saw Mr. Harrison, his mentor, clapping harder than anyone, a look of profound satisfaction and fatherly pride on his face. He saw his debate teammates cheering him on, their faces alight with genuine joy, their earlier animosity a distant, forgotten memory. His valedictory speech was not just a farewell, it was a testament. He spoke of the power of education, of the importance of empathy, of the courage it takes to stand for what is right, even when you stand alone. He spoke of the journey, the challenges, the moments of doubt, the sting of prejudice, and the unwavering belief that had carried him through. He spoke of Northwood High, not as a place of initial exclusion, but as a place that had, through its own evolution, learned to embrace diversity, to celebrate talent, regardless of where it came from. He spoke of the legacy he hoped to leave, not just of academic achievement, but of an open heart, an open mind, and a future where every student, no matter their background, felt that they truly belonged, that their voice mattered, that their dreams were valid. He graduated, not just as a valedictorian, but as a pioneer. He went on to excel in college, then law school, dedicating his life to civil rights and social justice, fighting for the very principles he had debated in high school. His career was marked by integrity, compassion, and a tireless commitment to equality, working to dismantle the systemic barriers he had personally experienced. He became a respected lawyer, a powerful voice for the marginalized, always remembering the boy who ate lunch alone in the cafeteria. The legacy he left at Northwood High was profound and enduring. The school, once a symbol of segregation, slowly but surely began to transform. Other black students, inspired by Marcus's courage and success, began to enroll, their path made infinitesimally easier by the trail he had blazed. The culture shifted, becoming more inclusive, more welcoming. The whispers of prejudice faded, replaced by the vibrant hum of diversity, a chorus of different voices, different perspectives. Today, decades later, Northwood High is a proudly diverse institution, a testament to the power of one young man's courage. The old brick building still stands on the hill, but its spirit is different. In the main hall, a gleaming plaque bears witness to its history and to the boy who changed it. His valedictorian speech is enshrined in the school archives, a powerful reminder of the values it now champions. And every year, a new generation of students from all walks of life compete for the Marcus Bradley Scholarship for Excellence in Debate and Social Justice, a scholarship that honors not just academic achievement, but the quiet strength, the unwavering dignity, and the profound impact of a young man who dared to belong, and in doing so, opened the doors for everyone who came after him. His story is a powerful reminder that true legacies are not built on privilege or exclusion, but on courage, resilience, and the unwavering belief in the inherent worth of every human being. They said he didn't belong there, but Marcus Bradley, the boy who walked into an all-white school in the 1960s, didn't just belong. He transformed it, and his legacy, a beacon of hope and justice, still stands today, shining brightly for all to see, a testament to the enduring power of one brave heart.